Very good. So welcome today, another session of our global meditation. This is part 2 and we are on day 3. So I can see that on Instagram, everybody's coming along together. Welcome and great to have you. And also on Facebook, Marie-Ange is great there. Wonderful Joel, Pierre, Amrita, wonderful Carla and Arwa. It's great to have you. We have been going through, as those who have joined us from the beginning, connecting back to ourself, to different aspects of ourself, on a platform of calm and peace and happiness and inner quietness and reassuring values. And we have approached that from the level of the physiology. What happens in the mind influences the body, and what happens in the body is also influencing the mind, because mind and body are a continuum, are not really completely separate things. They are different expressions of the same thing. And that thing is our consciousness, our awareness, our reality as pure being. But we are in our individuality different, and we face different circumstances. And in life, we face situations such as we are facing now in a dramatic way, this confinement and coronavirus situation, which hopefully soon will start relaxing and very many solutions will be coming along. So in the meantime, however, and even in regular life, even if there was no coronavirus or nothing, we face situations of worry about what will happen to us. We have anxieties about the future, about our safety, about our success, about our fulfillment, about our life and the meaning of life. And all of this leads to different inquiries, different worries, different situations that can come that lead to changes in the way our mind works and also in the way our physiology works. So when our physiology is influenced to such an extent that it is reflecting the status of our mind, then whenever we are worried or concerned, there are things that happen in our body. They happen as a reaction to prepare us to take care of the situation. But if it becomes in an appropriate way, it becomes too much, then the mind also gets mixed up from the messages that the body is giving. So if you tense, you're tight, you're high strong, on your physiological level, even the mind picks this up. And what we're doing, it's going to the body right now, to the physiology, and being in touch with ourselves on different levels. In the first 14 days, we have done the level of breathing and putting attention on different levels. And that takes care of what happens with respect to the vital organ, one of the most vital organs, the organ that brings oxygen, the breathing and its connectedness to the mind and connectedness to different ways of functioning, where it can be functioning under stressful situations, and then some muscles and mechanisms are working in a way that tells us or tells the mind or works in a way that is indicative of tension and fatigue and stress and tiredness and anxiety. And that influences the mind, and there is this vicious circle which we are breaking. So we continue to do our breathing exercises, and these sessions we are connecting with our heart, with the heart, because the heart is a very powerful vital organ, of course, that distributes the nourishment, the oxygen, the breathing. Without it, of course, the lungs, if they work, where would the oxygen go? Where would the life force go? And so the heart is that value which for all our life is working to distribute nourishment and wholeness of oxygen, of whatever, even hormones and neurotransmitters that are, moving based on the fluid flow of the body and the dynamics that are happening in the body. It's all really happening from the heart. So the heart is there, of course, having its own nervous system, but connected to the brain, to the nervous system, that controls and guides the heart's functioning based on the situations that we are facing. And so the heart is very delicately always adjusting the flow of the blood, adjusting the distribution of the nutrients and oxygen to different organs that need it. But it has, of course, a more profound, more subtle aspect that is not just on the gross level, but on the level of its ability to detect and feel if there is a need of something, and it feels, the things. That's why when people are in love, they feel it's in the heart. When people are afraid, they feel maybe in the stomach, they feel here, they feel that. If they have anxiety, they have a chest tightness, if they are under different circumstances. So all the organs of our body are actually intimately connected with what is happening in our nervous system, in our mind, in our psychology, in our awareness, in our understanding of where we are and how we are doing. So during this period, it is very important to reassure all these organs, so even the heart, to be in touch with it in a way, and to make sure that the attention which we have goes to a level that is soothing, that is holistic, and that gives connectedness with something real inside of us, something which is part of us. Of course, we are not just the finger, the ears, the eyes, or even just the heart, or just the shoulders, or the digestive tract, but we are all of this together and more, of course. Ultimately, we are pure being, pure consciousness, pure awareness, but these are expressions of what makes us able to experience and live life and experience things in different ways. And so they are really part of us, and to be connected with them when they are under pressure, physically, mentally, because we said it's the same thing, is very important. And I'm saying this so that we understand the value of what we are doing, which is at this stage the pulse diagnosis, or the feeling the pulse, because the pulse is one of the ways the heart communicates its status, its situation. We can check the heart by a stethoscope, by listening to the heartbeats and like that, by diagnosing different aspects. But we can also see how the heart is doing, what is it doing, by checking the pulse. And normally the doctors check the pulse in modern science by detecting how many beats per minute, how strong it is, etc. But the ancient knowledge of Veda, which gives yoga and Ayurveda and all the different values of knowledge about consciousness and physiology and life, they have more refined levels of understanding of the pulse, that actually we can almost learn the language of the pulse. And the language of the heart spoken through the pulse can be detected through the fingers. We've said that we have these 3 fingers, and that we put our hand on the inner side of our arm, next to the notch at the bottom of the base of the thumb. And we put our 3 fingers, and we said every finger is going to tell us about the situation with one of the 3 basic constituents and principles of our underlying functioning of the physiology. And these are much more profound than just the organs. They are the principles that construct the functioning of the physiology. Because as we said, we need structure in order to be able to be stable, to be strong. That is the kapha value, and that is talking to us through the 3rd finger, which is the ring finger. We need dynamism and change so that there is evolution. and that is the transformation value that deals with everything that's metabolized, whether we're metabolizing an idea, which means takes an idea and sort it out and understanding, or whether we are metabolizing food, metabolizing air, metabolizing anything, which means taking something and transforming it into something else. And that is the second finger, which is called Pitta, which will deal with the Pitta value. In Ayurveda, that's what it's called. And then the first finger is the movement. We have to move, we have to change, we have to move from one stage to the other. So there is a transforming value, but then this transforming value requires that things move around, that things are taken away and changed, and like that. So this mobility is in the first finger, which we call Vata, or the principle of movement and action and strength in terms of change. Whereas strength in terms of stability and strength in terms of structure is in the third finger, in what we call Kapha. So Kapha, Pitta, and Vata, or Vata, Pitta, Kapha, are the three values that we detect through the finger. Now you say, I've been touching and feeling. Maybe sometimes you feel more under the first finger, sometimes under the second finger. But if you release the first a little and then press with the second a little more, you will feel that also under the second finger there is a pulse that's coming. And then if you release the two a little bit, so you can actually at the beginning even release completely and take your pulse with its position with the third finger, or the second finger and release the other two, or the first finger and release the last two. So you can do that by releasing, so you have no confusion between them. And ultimately, you will be able to put your fingers where we have said to put them, and then press all of them together, and then see what kind of picture you get. So for now, we've been practicing just touching, and we touch as deeply as we can until we feel the pulse. We don't need to press too hard, but if for some reason there is no pulse under thing, try to press a little more until you reach some pulse. And by getting used to it, you will start to feel the pulse much more easily, because the sense of touch is being awakened, and you will feel it much more easy. By the way, we feel with the tip of the fingers, not with the sides, with the tip. So the tip of the finger. So when the hand comes on the pulse, it comes like that, not like that. Of course, if you have long nails, then whatever you can do, it's fine. If the nails are longer for whatever reason, then you can use your pulse like this. But ideally, it's more from this side and maybe a little bit from the other side. Now, we've said we use the right hand, but you can also use the left hand. So you can do it on the left hand when you do it on yourself. There is a tradition, where men, women can have different size of the pulse, but that's not important. We really feel both hands, and you can try to feel on both sides. Maybe you feel one side more than the other. Okay, so this is something we continue to practice. And what we want to add today is a quality that we're going to start detecting. Not only where, on which finger there is a pulse, and what the pulse, how strong it is and what it is. We want really to see different qualities of Vata, Pitta, Kapha and how they manifest. So these can manifest under any finger. So you might have a Vata quality under the second finger, the third finger, or the first finger. These qualities that we will discuss right now can be seen under any finger. So what you have to do right now is just feel the pulse. So let's take a few seconds first, not worry about quality. Feel the pulse. So we take a few seconds and we feel the pulse. and we feel with the first finger. Our attention goes to the first finger. We release it a little bit, and we feel the second finger. And our attention goes to the second finger. Then we release it a little bit, and then our attention goes to the third finger. Some might find that the third finger, they need to press a little more, so press a little more, it's okay, until you actually are able to get to the artery and push on it, because by pushing on the artery, that's how you feel the pulse. And since the first finger is right next to the bone, usually it's easier, or the second finger can be also easier, but the third finger can also be there. Okay, everybody's feeling that? Very good. So these are the different places where we feel the pulse. Now, qualities of the pulse. This is something we have to go through, because this is how we can start talking the language of the heart that is telling us something through the pulse. And everyone has a language, and you have to understand the language. In order to understand the language, you have to learn it. So it's okay, we have to make a little bit of short, small effort to learn a new language, the language of the touch, the language of the heart speaking to us through the pulse. And besides the fact, again, that there are three sides of the pulse, three places, then we have the quality of the pulse, the quality of the pulse. Let's start with Vata. Vata is the first finger, but we are saying it doesn't matter. It happens, these qualities can happen under any finger. So now we are not discussing the fingers, we are discussing the kind of pulse we have. Now the pulse can be hard, sharp, quick, fast, soft, smooth, can be, in different kinds of qualities. And don't be taken aback, because this might seem like, how can I feel that in the touch? You will be able to feel it, and as we go through, you will experience this more and more clearly as we get into the practice. But to understand these, we have to know the qualities of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And in order to understand them and remember them without having to learn them by heart, we're going to associate them with their elements. They have elements that they are associated with. There are 5 elements in Ayurveda that are basic. These 5 elements are also in yoga, they are in Samkhya, they are in the whole Vedic literature. They're part of the Prakriti, which is the nature of things. These elements are emptiness of space or space. They are, we discussed them already before. There are the gaseous things, also we say air, we can say air. They are the fire, the metabolism, so we can say the fire element. And then the water element, which is the element of fluidity. And then the earth element, which is the element of heaviness, of structure. Vata, the first element of Ayurveda, is associated with the space and the air element, space and air. Kapha, on the other hand, which is on the other side, the more heavy side, is associated with earth and water. And in the middle, we have Pitta, which is associated with fire. Pitta is the metabolism, and it's associated with fire. If you don't want to learn these Sanskrit names, it doesn't matter. Just think there is the element of movement and mobility, and that is space and air, because without space, you can't move. If everything is solid, you cannot move. So in order to move, there has to be some empty space that is opened, and then you move. So if you think movement, then you think space, because this is where you can move. You move in space. You cannot move if you're in the house, in the wall. So you live in the house, the wall defines the house, but you live actually in the space. You move in the space. It's the real house is the space, the emptiness, not even the solidness, is just to define the house where you live, the space in which you move and you change and do things and evolve. And so this movement for evolution is very important. And we can remember that it is space and air, space and gaseous. So it has qualities. Space and air, usually they create dryness. They are light, they're not heavy, and they are on the cold side. So cold, light, dry, and rather also because of dryness, it can be a little rough. So it could be rough. It is subtle, it is not heavy. And so the subtlety, the lightness, the coolness of air, the fastness of moving, the more there is empty space, the more you can move fast, the more things are solid, the more you are, stickiness, there is stickiness. So this quality of vata is having these qualities of lightness and dryness and coolness, coldness and mobility and subtlety. It's very subtle. So these are the qualities of this value of movement, which we call vata. In the pulse, it will be detected in a special way. And this movement in the pulse is usually described by the Vedic tradition, by the knowledge of yoga and Ayurveda and Samkhya and all that. And those who know it from the tradition, they describe it as a movement of a snake. So it's like a snake moving fast, and it moves this way, this way. It is irregular generally. It is moving in kind of all directions or some directions. It is sliding, but in a fast way like that. And it has that quality of mobility. So we can think how it waves itself like a wave, and that is the movement of vata. So if you feel under your pulse these qualities, and you will start to feel like, my pulse, does it feel cold? Does it feel warm? Does it feel sliding? If it's sliding as if, and vibrating as if, etc., you will say, well, that's a vata quality. So don't be overwhelmed by this. Just remember these, and they will come as we start to experience them. The second aspect that we consider is pitta. Pitta is the value of metabolism of the fire element. It's fire and water also, is described as having water also in it, because it is smooth, it is silky, it is more, oily, if you like, but it is very sharp also because the fire is sharp. So the element of pitta, the second element, is hot, of course, because it's fire, and it's also light. It's not very heavy, but it's sharp and it spreads, and it has that oiliness quality because there is an element of water in it also. So that is the quality of pitta. How would you feel it under the pulse? If we say we want to compare it to that we have the pulse of a snake, we'll feel it like a frog jumping. It jumps. It feels like it jumps like that at you. It really jumps at you. It's sharp. This is the sharpness, and it feels hot, as if it's hot. Of course, you're not going to feel suddenly heat coming under the finger, but you will feel this sharpness under the finger, the sharpness of pitta. And the last one is kapha, which is the element of stability, of strength, of structure, that has water and earth that are in it. These two elements, water and earth, the heavier ones that have structure, is of course going to be heavy. It's going to be also oily because of the fluid style that it has. And it is kind of sticky. If it feels sticky and heavy and, you know, stable, but it's also smooth. It's soft and smooth. So it's a smooth, soft, stable, but can be sticky and heavy. And that is the kapha value. When the kapha is balanced in the pulse, if we want to compare it to one of those animals, then it will be like the movement of a swan. You know, a swan moves on the water with very soft, dignified, like grand movement like that. It's just as if it's not moving, it's sliding and then sliding and then sliding, but in a grand way. So you will feel that smooth, soft, oily, heavier kind of movement. And this is the movement of the swan, or the quality of kapha. So what we want to do now is take 1 minute, put the fingers on the pulse, then close the eyes, and then press on the pulse. And your attention now, it doesn't matter wherever it comes or any finger, see if you can feel, does this feel like a snake? Does it feel like a frog jumping, or does it feel like a swan? If you don't want to compare to the animals, then you think, is it feel dry and cold and light? That will be more vata quality. If it feels hot and sharp and oily, that will be the pitta quality. And if it feels heavy and slow and you know, kind of sticky almost, then you will feel this is the kapha quality. So let's see if you can feel any of this, and let me know after about half a minute. So we'll sit comfortably, close the eyes, put the hands on the fingers on the hand, and the hands comfortably either on the lap or raised up like that, so you're comfortable. Your shoulders are relaxed, not tension. The hands themselves are relaxed. And then the touch, just the finger presses on the pulse without tension, but with pressure, a little pressure of the fingers. And then be with the pulse. First, just detect the pulse, feel the pulse. Then have your attention realize, yes, it's on the first finger, or the second, or the third. And pick up any of the fingers that you feel the pulse is most noticed. So if you feel most noticing you are on the first finger, then just be with the first. If it's on the second, then just be with the second. On the third, be with the third. Don't try to jump back and forth. And once you have chosen the finger that has the pulse most noticed, now you start saying, is my pulse jumping? Is it like a frog jumping? Is it moving like a swan? Or is it moving like a snake? And then you can ask yourself other questions. Is it round and soft? Is it sharp? Is it like hitting against my finger sharply? Or is it softly? Does it feel heavy or sticky or light? Does it feel cold, or it feels like a warmth? Now, of course, these values are not easy to define. It's a subjective almost, in the sense that how can you say it's cold? How can you say it's warm? It's how you feel it. It's how you feel it. We're going into mixing the senses a little bit between, you know, what we would call feeling temperature and then feeling pressure. But it's okay. The body can detect, the mind can detect. So I will stop speaking for a little, so to stop being distracting from the feeling, but I wanted to make sure you understand what we're doing. And now we just close the eyes and wait for 1 minute. During that 1 minute, you are feeling what quality you have in the pulse that you have selected on whatever finger you have selected. So you keep asking yourself, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it round? Is it silky? Is it jumpy? Is it sharp? These kinds of qualities. And then just don't worry about it subjectively. You're seeing maybe I'm making myself, convincing myself that it's like that or not. Don't analyze yourself too much. Don't be too critical or too analytical, or just an impression, the mind is able, the intellect, the fine feeling level, are able to detect things that on the surface level we might analyze and be critical about. But somehow there is a profound and more deep analysis that takes place in our nervous system, in our consciousness, that gives us a message. Yes, for one reason, I'm calling this sharp. Fine. That's whatever reason. Don't try to analyze. You called it sharp, it's sharp. Or you called it round, it's round. Or sometimes like this, sometimes it changes. Then just whatever comes to mind, whatever you feel. Let's do this for another half a minute. Beautiful. Let's open our eyes. This is great. So let's do this at home. Keep practicing the pulse and then listening to it. So what we're doing is listening. It's like a meditation. What you're listening to is you're listening to your heart, although you're just touching the pulse, but your mind is saying, what is the pulse like? And the pulse is created through the heart's beating. So the heart fills up with blood and then pushes the blood out and then relaxes. And that's why you have these waves. And these waves are sensitive to your state of mind and physiology. And now you're listening to them. You're listening to this aspect of yourself on a fine level. And that has a very soothing and healing aspect. And as we listen now with just the qualities, what quality it is, we are opening our awareness to these qualities, to the quality of softness, of sharpness, of roundness. So we are awakening our physiology and nervous system in fine qualities of our sensory perception, which is fine quality of our awareness. Very good. Do this many times a day and then check how it feels and how it changes. And it's great to have you. Remember to invite your friends who have never joined us. They can join from the first part also, from day one of the first part, and then better to do that. And if they like to absolutely join this part too, that's fine. However, if anyone is here from the friends and have not followed the other parts, it would be good when you have time to follow the other parts, because they'll give you understanding of what we're doing. And understanding is important so that we know what we're doing has a meaning and what is its meaning. And the intellect is satisfied, the mind is satisfied, and the senses are fulfilled also. Now we'll close the eyes and take about few seconds and then start our meditation together, our transcendental meditation for those who practice it. And for others, please go ahead and do some 5 minutes of pranayama as we learned from the first part. And then after that, you can also feel the pulse. So you could even start by feeling the pulse for about 1 minute to see the difference. Then you do your pranayama, and then take your time to come out, and then feel the pulse again. The same for those who practice TM, Transcendental Meditation. You can feel the pulse, see what its quality is, then close the eyes, do your regular meditation, take some time to come out, and then feel the pulse again and see how it has changed, if it has changed. Great to have you all. Thank you for coming, and we'll have our next meeting tomorrow at 12 New York, Miami time, or 5 p.m. It's the UK time, 6 p.m. Central Europe, and anyone else who is joining from East Coast of America, West Coast of America, Latin America, and also the Far East might be it's odd time for them, maybe in the night or sleeping. But if you're joining us from India and Nepal, which I see some are, you're absolutely welcome, and it's great to have you all. So let's close the eyes and then meditate.